government is a military government which will rule with advice from certain eminent civilians in the country. I would like to emphasize immediately that this coup was not initiated by the armed forces merely to satisfy our selfish ends.
I said, this is man's inhumanity to man. So to me, because you are talking to me, that was a great justification for the coup of 1972.
That was going to be his last meal. I would have prepared one of his favorite food, which is roasted mashed cocoyam with peanut or groundnut mixed with red palm oil.
Last word, Father, take this ring, pray for me that God may accept me as I am. This was his last word.
The military was his hidden passion, and I think he got it. You see, the philosophers have been saying that there is nothing as powerful as an idea whose time has come. I think the time has come for the world to know the real General I.K Acheampong.
U.S. historian Henry Glassy once said, "History is not the past, but a map of the past, drawn from a particular point of view to be useful to the modern traveler." What then is really the true story of the one-time General of Hope, the man who gave even at the point of death? He lived and died with the last words, quote, "Father, take this ring, pray for me, that God may accept me as I am," unquote. With these last words, the ugly noise of a bullet will be the last sound he will ever hear, a sound that will take him to a journey of no return.
Pray over them. I try to tell them, console themselves, and take it that they have God planning for them. And so I couldn't do anything. After some, having stayed there for about an hour, praying for them and trying to console them, even though it's difficult, very difficult, to a person from death. Person you are talking with life.
This is the true story of the life and times of General Ignatius Kutu Acheampong. The story begins at Wamwasi, about 21 minutes drive from Kumasi in the Ashanti region of Ghana. In this town lived James Kojo Osei Kutu and his wife Ekwamenu. They were peasant farmers. After having their firstborn 17 months earlier by the name Victoria Yapokua, they were blessed with a second child on 23rd September 1931. His name will be called Ignatius Kutu Acheampong. It is this house that the future leader will begin his life.
Me nana I.K Acheampong. Me pacho figure we mu nana ofri. Agrek ngomase. Eden ano ne maame no mu na ano na meti. Ne maame efi ngomase ya. Ne papa fi shidie. I.K Acheampong ye wo ngomase. Ye wo no no hyase keji ewo ngomase. Ansa no papa ebefa na ko shidie. Iti shidie no ko bo ne bra ko school wie ye ansa na nyame adum nyuma sem e ma ne be yo mampani. Iti ya hwere ya de kese. Se me wafa me nana me bibia ma de nyina ene I.K Acheampong.
Acheampong began his formal education at Roman Catholic Primary School at Trouble, barely 3 kilometers from Hwidiam. This was the classroom he sat.
What I know is I got in this school for about 8 years, and I went on further studies, and I came back. When I came, I have been appointed as the head teacher for this school. So what I know about this school is that ever since I came here, I learned our former head of state, General I.K Acheampong, attended and completed elementary school in here, HSC. Now the school is in its deplorable state.
His teacher was phobia, one time Ghana ambassador to India. Mr. Dia saw that the late general was very good, very academically good, and so one day he called me and said, like, these boys are worrying you. You have been punishing them, beating them all the time, but that is not enough. I would like to share with you something. So he said, after break, I would like to keep in with you so that you will learn and become very, very clever, cleverer than the rest. The late general accepted that. And so after closing, he will keep in with Mr. Dia P.B. the ambassador, as I have told you, to our commission to India. So he went on like that, and he became very, very, very clever.
Although born into a Catholic family, it was the school that introduced him formally to the faith. He studied catechism and was baptized with a Christian name, Ignatius.
This is life, what we call lives of the saints. I only knew that Ignatius also died for the faith. He died for the faith. He knows this for his belief in God. The pagan government people were against his way of life as a Christian, and he wouldn't change to follow the Christian, if you like, the pagan way, who were then the leaders of the government. That the Roman times, time when Rome was, I would say, the head of the world. Yes, he died for his faith.
Sadly, 3 years after his birth, his mother, Ekwamenu, will have another son by the name Kojota. Shortly after giving birth to him, she died. After her death, James Osei-Kutu decided to relocate to his hometown Hwidiam with his children. His decision will come with a lot of sacrifices. Victoria, who was the eldest of her siblings, had to take on additional responsibilities as a mother, sister, and a student. It became too heavy on her. Further, things were not going well financially with James Osei-Kutu. Therefore, he decided to take the most difficult decision that no parent will ever wish to take.
I think my grandfather was a very fair man, and I think we've all inherited that through my dad as well. And I think times were hard without the wife, and so he actually had a meeting with the siblings to discuss the problem at hand, and that he could only afford to keep one of them in school. So he wanted them to discuss and decide who would go forward, but the other two siblings, my auntie Victoria, volunteered to play mother, because she'd already been playing mother to them already. So, and it was actually taking a toll on her studies while she was playing mother. So she was the first to volunteer, saying, she's happy to step back and play mother, looking after all of them. And before my father could say he was going to volunteer, his younger brother, J.K., also stepped up and said no. He thought my father was smarter than him and that he should go.
The selflessness and love displayed by his siblings will forever make a deep and lasting impression on him for the rest of his life. To be appreciative of their sacrifice, he swore to himself to take full advantage of the opportunity and not to disappoint the family.
It was a decision that my father really appreciated, and I think you saw later on in life, he literally looked after the entire family, even to the extent where in some instances, if you came to a house, you could not tell who were my father's kids and who were his siblings' kids. So it really meant a lot to him, and he did all he could do to replicate that gesture.
It was very important to him, but at the time, girls were not encouraged to go to school, and my auntie was the eldest child, and she was a girl. So the next one was my father. And since my grandfather can only educate only one child, it fell on my father, and he in turn took care of the family.
His impressive physique and strength also gained him the nickname Osino, meaning the elephant.
I think from his childhood days, he was known for like helping old ladies when they're coming back from the village with their farm goods or firewood or whatever, and he would carry all sorts of big loads on him, because apparently it's something to do with this. He has such straight upper body strength. And I think General Eskin also recounted that, during the training days in the military, he was one of the few people who could carry the heavy ammunition. So I think it's to do with like his upper body strength.
Even though he didn't have the skill of Pele, but he has something else, talent in strategic mind games. Many called him the Wizard of Draft, known in the local dialect as Dami, the Ghanaian local chess game. He could sit and beat 5 players in a row and will retire sometimes prematurely, oftentimes so others could enter the game.
I think he was very strategic in everything he did. So he liked the thought of playing mind games, and I think it was quite interesting because you'd find that when we had soldiers on guard duty, he would sit and be playing with them, which was like almost against protocol, because in the army hardly do officers and the other ranks mingle. There was separate officers' mess, and just because of the structure of the hierarchy and the protocol, they just didn't sort of play together. But I think because my father loved draft and he wanted to play the best, and some of the best draft players were the corporals and the privates, and he would sit together and play with them, just and like there was no protocol. Okay, they were just playing draft as 2 draftsmen, and with all the jokes and everything that were associated with it, and you put them at ease, letting them play that. And I think even when he was in detention at Amejope or Akusuba, I can't remember exactly where, but he had a visit from Bishop Sapong, and I think Bishop Sapong he saw a board of drafts, and he asked my father, so you play drafts here? And he goes, yeah, why? Do you know how to play? So they challenged themselves to a game of drafts, but I think it was something he enjoyed playing, because I think it was more to the strategic, using the mindset. Yeah.
As devout Catholics are meant to do, Acheampong chose his patron, Saint Vincent de Paul. Inspired by the virtues exemplified by the life of de Paul, Acheampong undertook to live a life full of mercy and charity. Many described him as a man of tolerance.
His father was the first to be baptized in the Catholic faith, the first in the long line of his ancestry. St. Vincent was a saint honored by people for his humility, his generosity and everything. And apparently became the patron saint of Acheampong as a young boy in the Catholic faith.
Aside his Christian faith, one thing that was dear to him was education. After 3 years at Trabum, his father wanted a city life for him, so he moved him to continue his education at St. Peter's Catholic School in Kumasi. Then eventually to another Catholic middle school in Ejuso, a sizable town barely 15 kilometers south of Kumasi. Finally, in 1945, he completed his middle school successfully. Having achieved the middle school leaving certificate, Acheampong started as a teacher. As a people teacher who was uncertified, he realized he could not build a career, so he had to further his education by enrolling at the Central College of Commerce at Aguna Sodro in the Central Region, where he completed successfully in 1949 with GCE O-level certificate. Based on his exemplary attitude and impressive academic credentials, the principal of the school offered him a position as a tutor a day to his graduation. Teaching was a hobby for Acheampong. Eventually, he was made the vice principal of the college, even though he was rising too fast. He still saw the need to acquire more skills, and so he took lessons in shorthand writing. This made him easily marketable because only few people had such skills and quality at the time.
He had gone to commercial school, and so he was very good at typing. And so even when he was a recruit, he was always at the office doing it. But later on, he boldly told the officer that it was not typing that he came to join the army. He wanted to be a full-time soldier. And so the senior officers became a bit worried. And so and he was clever in the army. So that forced him to learn hard so that he would not remain there to be a typist.
Young Acheampong had many plans, but of all the beautiful plans he had, he was yet to make plan for one, a woman. And so in 1951, he married his first wife, a trader, the beautiful Comfort Adjosa.
We met through the traditional marriage. They were both young, and it was arranged between the two families. They were very young. My mother was the first wife, Madam Adjosa. They had 3 children out of that marriage: Rose, Janet, and me, Elizabeth.
However, before Comfort could deliver her first child, Acheampong took another appointment in the late 1951 as a shorthand typist and secretary to the Region Director of Education in Sunyani, the Brona-Hafo region, and now the Bono region. In June 1952, Acheampong became a proud father when he had his first child by the name Elizabeth. Subsequently, Comfort will have 2 other beautiful baby girls, Rose in 1956 and Janet in 1961.
He called me Amafra by my name. That's my tree name. And my sister Rose Buklong, because she was always reading. And my sister Janet, also for Mami, or Roman sister, because she had joined the Scripture Union in the secondary school, and she was always going to church and praying.
He was lucky in finding good paying jobs. The erratic movement from one job to another within 4 years meant something.
I think Acheampong was searching for an anchor to his life, because within 4 years or so he has changed job about 3 or 4 times, and finally once he got himself into the Ghana Army in 1953, he fell settled and never changed course again. So I think he was really a military person. But after all, his great-grandfather fought in the wars between the Benchers and the Asantis, and then Asantis and the British War. So I think it's a tradition in the family.
The anchor of his life was yet to come. One day, in a conversation with his bosom friend from his hometown, Lawrence Kakari, whose only ambition was to be a soldier right from his infancy, shared with Acheampong the excitement and benefits of being in the army. Kakari at the time had enlisted 2 years earlier. Acheampong took a long look and became profoundly passionate about the army himself. He loved the discipline, uniform, and patriotism it installed in soldiers.
In fact, it was Kakari, a good friend of his from the same town, Hidio, who really ignited the passion for the military. Apparently, Kakari had enlisted 2 years previously, and once he came to the town to have that conversation with Acheampong, he got impressed that perhaps that's where his future lies. So with that information, he quickly decided to go to Glassy to be recruited in the Ghana Army.
Finally, in October 1953, after going through the cycles of life, Acheampong had now settled on a career choice. He enlisted in the Gold Coast Army, which will later be known as the Ghana Army. One would say this was where his journey to hell and paradise began.
Now, what a lot of people didn't know was that the original date for the coup was the 15th of January. But it leaked. The intelligence system got to know about it. Now, if you got to know about the people planning the coup, won't you find out who were planning the coup? And in the investigations, they realized that the man who would be in the position to foil the coup was the man who was planning the coup.
Interestingly, our research found that the father had a phobia for the military service because of the experiences of the father's father, who fought in the Asante-British War of the 1890s. So he swore that never would any of his children becomes a soldier. But unfortunately, it seems like the father did not share this hidden phobia for the military with Acheampong. So it was after Acheampong had enlisted that he came back to inform the father, hey, Dad, I'm not a soldier man, I've been accepted into the army in Kumasi. Then the father realized that he made a big mistake by not warning the son. But you see, it was too late.